It was one of those nights where the rain felt heavier than usual, as if the sky itself was grieving. The wind howled through the empty streets, carrying with it the kind of chill that seeped into bones. Inside a small, dimly lit house at the edge of town, Daniel, a single father, sat on a worn-out couch, staring at the silent clock on the wall. His daughter, Emily, was curled up in a blanket on the other side, clutching her old stuffed bunny, the only toy that had survived years of hardship. Money was short, bills were piling up, and hope felt like a stranger in their home. But in that quiet moment, he was grateful for warmth, for safety, for the fragile piece of stability he had managed to hold together, until the sound of desperate knocking echoed through the house. Friends, before we continue, if you believe kindness and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to Kindness Corner, and share it so more people can feel the power of compassion. Daniel hesitated. It was past midnight, and he rarely got visitors, especially in the middle of a storm. The knocks grew urgent, trembling with fear or desperation. When he opened the door, he found a young woman standing there, drenched to the bone, her hair plastered to her face, and her pale skin trembling in the cold. Her dress, elegant but torn at the hem, clung to her as rainwater streamed off her shoulders. She didn't look like someone from the neighborhood. There was something unusual in her eyes, something between panic and sorrow, that made him step aside without question. He gave her a towel, offered her a spot by the small heater, and brought her a cup of tea. She didn't explain much, only that she needed a safe place for the night. Daniel didn't pry. He understood what it felt like to be on the run from life itself. Emily peeked curiously from behind the couch, her innocent eyes studying the stranger. The woman offered a faint smile, though her mind seemed miles away. The house was small, just 2 rooms and a living area, so Daniel gave up his bed for her. He spent the night on the couch, listening to the storm rage outside, wondering who she was and what had brought her here. He didn't expect any answers. People came and went in life. What mattered was offering help when someone needed it most. The next morning, the rain had stopped, leaving behind a gray, quiet world. The woman seemed calmer, though still guarded. She thanked him and prepared to leave, but before she could, Emily offered her a small piece of bread from her breakfast. It was a simple gesture, but it made the woman's eyes fill with tears. She took the bread gently, as if it was more precious than gold. She left soon after, disappearing down the road without saying much more than a quiet thank you. Days passed, and life returned to its routine struggle. Daniel went back to fixing old cars at the small workshop where he barely earned enough to survive. Emily went to school, wearing second-hand clothes but carrying a smile that Daniel fought every day to protect. But everything changed when, one afternoon, a black luxury car pulled up outside his home. The same young woman stepped out, now dressed in a perfectly tailored suit, her hair neatly styled, and her expression calm yet emotional. Daniel was stunned. She explained that her name was Isabella, and she was the daughter of one of the wealthiest men in the city. That night she had knocked on his door. She had been running away from a dangerous situation, one that involved people who cared more about her family's money than her safety. She had chosen his house by chance, never expecting kindness from a stranger who had so little to give. Isabella told him that his generosity, his lack of judgment, and the warmth of his home had stayed with her. She had gone back to her father, explained everything, and now she wanted to repay him, not out of obligation, but out of gratitude. Daniel refused at first. Pride was something he had held onto tightly in his years of struggle. But Isabella insisted, not with money, but with opportunities. She arranged for Emily to attend one of the best schools in the city, free of cost. She introduced Daniel to people who needed honest mechanics, eventually helping him open his own small garage. Life didn't change overnight, but slowly, things began to turn around. Daniel's home was repaired, his income became stable, and Emily blossomed in her new school. Yet the biggest change wasn't material, it was the realization that one act of kindness, even from someone who had nothing to spare, could come back in ways one could never imagine. Months later, Isabella visited again, this time as a close friend, not just a benefactor. She became part of their small family circle, often joining them for simple dinners. Emily adored her, and Daniel grew to respect her not for her wealth, but for her heart. It was a reminder that sometimes the people we help for, just one night, can stay in our lives forever. As the sun set one evening, Daniel looked at his little girl laughing in the yard with Isabella. He thought about that rainy night, about the desperate knock on the door, and about how saying yes had changed everything. His life was far from perfect, but it was richer now, not in money, but in love, trust, and hope. Friends, if this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. It helps us keep sharing these true-to-life stories that remind us of the power of kindness. And before we end, here's a special request. Comment below and tell us, have you ever helped a stranger, not knowing how it might change their life or yours? Your story might inspire someone else to do the same.